Introducing The Fiber, brought to you by Live Oak Fiber. This open forum is meant to inspire, empower, and set the record straight for consumers and better broadband enthusiasts alike. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to The Fiber. We have Ryan Moore with the Georgia Development Authority in with us this morning, President. So how does that work? How did you get involved with the Georgia Development Authority?
Golden Isles Development Authority.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. It's early this morning. You're right.
Not looking for a promotion just yet. So I started almost 20 years ago now in economic development.
Okay.
Kind of fell into it. Started doing commercial real estate sales out of college and met some really good folks that kind of pushed me in that direction and told me how much fun it was. And so here I am 20 years later. So I've moved from the Savannah area to Athens, Georgia, and then back down to the coast again. So good to be back near the water.
And how long have you been in the Golden Isles?
Yeah, 5 years. So grew up in Savannah, so I had some familiarity with the area, but not specifically with Brunswick and the Golden Isles. And so I've been here 5 years and really enjoying it.
And when we talk about the Development Authority, it's kind of broad. What all facets of the community do you touch, and what is the main mission of your efforts for the regions that you serve?
Sure. Predominantly, we exist in the industrial space, so that's where the majority of our time and effort is spent, is developing industrial property, sourcing industrial projects. But then we also do a lot of other things, workforce development, entrepreneurship. Obviously, we do a lot of marketing for the community as well as for our organization. So we have a broad reach, but at the end of the day, we are here to create jobs and induce investment in the community. So basically, those two things, if done correctly, will increase the GDP in the area, the gross domestic product. And that's ultimately, if you had to boil it down to one number, we're trying to get people to invest, create jobs, and increase the GDP in Brunswick.
What are some of the challenges you face with that?
Yeah, everywhere has their challenges.
Sure.
We are, we're not the largest market. We're a community of 80,000 people, 120,000 or so in the MSA, and a workforce of 50 to 55,000. So when you compare that to some of our competition, we look a lot smaller. But I think some of the things that at first blush may seem like an impediment are actually an advantage. When you look at our position along the coast, we're equidistant from Jacksonville and Savannah, and we actually pick up a lot of the bedroom community workforce from Richmond Hill and North Jacksonville. And when you look at a 45-minute drive time from our sites along the interstate, we actually have over 500,000 people within 45 minutes. So we draw from a much larger drive time demographic than what it might first look on paper. So
Sure.
Certainly our size is one of our impediments. Being close to the beach is a benefit, but it also comes with hurricanes and other things. So we try to choose sites and develop in areas that are less prone to some of the weather events that happen along the coast. And we're also, as far as you can get, far west as you can get on the East Coast. So as far as mitigating those circumstances, I think we've got it really good.
Post-pandemic, as a lot of people sought to actually be in somewhat more coastal communities, you mentioned Jacksonville at one point, 1,000 people a day were moving to Jacksonville, if you can believe that statistic. It's kind of crazy. With that being said, have you seen an influx in growth or, say, investment in industry here with people seeking more this quality of life aspect and leaving the concrete jungles, if you will, to come to these lower-lying communities? And has that been beneficial for the Golden Isles?
Yeah, no, I think on balance it has. We had seen that prior to the pandemic, and it was accelerated in a big way during the pandemic, people leaving larger MSAs and moving to places that have maybe a better quality of life. And we tried to wrap our arms around that and make sure that it was being done in a planned manner. We actually started an initiative during the pandemic called Bring Your Own Job, BYOJ, which we stopped shortening it to BYOJ because that means something else. Bring Your Own Joint was not what we were looking for the Golden Isles.
Sure.
So Bring Your Own Job initiative. And basically people that are moving out of big MSAs that wanted to get to a coastal lifestyle and have the ability to work from home. We did some really good marketing and pushed out that message, talked to a lot of people that had done that before, and made it a really an opportunity and made that easy for people that were moving in. So we saw that happen. Certainly, I think, again, it's been good on balance, but with that comes the struggles of an increase in population. And, certainly the islands have accelerated their growth and the number of people that have flocked to the island. So maybe some of our workforce issues have come from just the influx of people and the lack of workforce housing for people that have been moved off of the island or out of where they commonly were able to rent because of people coming in from other places, and also just the proliferation of short-term rentals has displaced a lot of those people. So I think it's a good problem to have when you have too many people moving to your area. So it's a matter of managing it.
Can you give me a rate of like how many people are moving to the area currently?
Well, it's difficult to pinpoint that because all of our numbers are lag. So some of those numbers are rolling in. I can say the most interesting statistic, if you look at our numbers, is that for the last almost 20 years, we have been at a workforce of somewhere between 40 and 45,000, maybe a little larger depending on the number that you look at. And from 2007 to 2023, we only added about 100 people in our actual workforce. So a lot of the people that are moving in from other places are either don't have to work or are retired. And so that the percentage of workforce to population is certainly shrinking. And that's something that we not sure if it's sustainable or not. If you see our future as being a totally retirement-oriented tourist destination, then certainly that there are places that have been successful at that. We do not see that as our long-term growth plan, so we're trying to combat that with some investment and growth, particularly on the mainland, to support some of the workforce housing and the workforce that we need here in the community.
What are some of your current ongoing projects? If you could say today what you guys are up to, and then forecast what you do foresee for the next, say, 3 to 5 years for the Golden Isles.
Sure, and I'll start with the second question first. There are some real investments that have occurred and some hiring that's taking place, and a lot of it happens under the radar. It's not necessarily a big splash in the community, but for instance, Wallenius Wilhelmsen Keene Transport has made a major investment on Colonel's Island at our port. They are currently constructing their facility. It's a tremendous processing facility for heavy equipment. It'll be the best in the world, quite frankly. But they're in the process of hiring about 500 people. Gulfstream has made some investments and are currently hiring a couple hundred people and could hire them tomorrow. There's other port-related jobs where there are 200 to 300 people that are needed today, tomorrow. Buc-ee's is something that we've been working on for quite a while. It's getting to the finish line. We just got to push that ball over. But once they come in, they'll need a couple hundred people. So you're talking about just on one hand, there's probably enough companies that could support 1,000 people, and our unemployed workforce in the community is only about 1,500 right now. So a lot of things happening, a lot of people making investments and hiring that are here local, some new investments. Some of the things that we're working on more long term, we are a part of a partnership development along I-95 to the west of 95 at exit 42, 700 acres called Trade Winds. We've invested a lot of resources in that particular piece of property. We own 70 acres and our neighbors own about 650. So it's a very large developable piece of property. It's all teed up. We've done all of the preliminary engineering, and we currently have 5 to 6 different companies that are all vying to be the first to go vertical on that site. So we expect in the next 18 months to have 1, maybe 2 buildings going vertical. So a lot of exciting things happening. On the east side of the interstate, Buc-ee's again, they're not formally announced. They don't announce until they're on site with a bulldozer ready to start turning dirt.
Right.
But that secret's out. So that'll be a tremendous investment, $50 to $60 million invested in that site, and quite a bit of jobs that come along with it. And the amount of people that pull off of the interstate to go to the Buc-ee's is hard to conceive. But so we're looking forward to that.
I have one
investment.
in my neighborhood. It is like nothing I've ever seen.
Yes.
Yes.
It is amazing. If you've not gone to a Buc-ee's, you have to go. It's an experience. Anything you need from a Yeti cooler to a styrofoam cooler, from beef jerky to home decor, it's all there.
Sunglasses, swimsuits, everything. Yes.
That's it. And from what they're saying, they draw about 10,000 cars off of the interstate every day, which is amazing. So it'll be quite a boon to the economy here locally, and a really good kickoff to that interchange development. if you look at Bucky's other investments in other places, generally within 3 to 5 years of them coming in, the interchange is fully built, and we expect that here. So, and you're seeing some of that. D.R. Horton made an announcement that they're building a subdivision on the northwest corner of that interchange. So it's already happening or has happened. We're getting Bucky's over the finish line. They've had some permitting issues, but we're getting past that. It's always an issue with land development, but in this one in particular has been for several reasons just difficult to get the permitting that we need. So we're close, and hopefully they can go to construction soon. Outside of that, we've invested quite a bit of money in the north side of the runway at Brunswick Golden Isles Airport. Again, getting that ready, doing some preliminary engineering, having the wetlands delineated, the cultural resources studies, the endangered species study. So we've done all of that preliminary engineering, and we've teed that up. We have a couple of 300 or so acre sites that are runway accessible, which once we get them to the point that they're developable, will be very unique in the state. And then outside of that, last year we purchased 1,400 acres 7 miles west of Colonel's Island on Highway 82. So that is 5 miles west of the interstate on Highway 82. It's a pine tree forest right now, but it's under the water tower. And it's a very unique piece of property. There's about 500 developable contiguous acres with access to the Golden Isles Terminal Rail on the backside. So you've got highway frontage on the front, obviously, and rail frontage on the back. So we feel like that's the future for industrial investment in the community, and have an option with a company that's studying that right now, and we hope to be able to announce that soon.
You had stated a few minutes ago that you really don't see it as, and a lot of people do come here to retire. Why wouldn't you? It's beautiful, right? But you really want to see kind of a mix in growth in the population. What goes into developing that to make sure it stays attractive for more of a thriving, progressive individual looking for a great quality of life and a good place to call home and raise kids?
Well, I think you're exactly right. You can't put all of your eggs in one basket, and you've got to diversify your portfolio for retirement, just like you should try to diversify your mix of people in the community. So, the demographics in the world, the demographics in the United States are changing. You've got this big dip in population between the baby boomers who are nearing retirement or have retired, and then the oldest millennial is now 39, 40 years old. Mm-hmm. So that middle management area between 40 and 60 is very difficult to find. So we're having to train people up earlier, mm-hmm. And really focus on technical skills at an early age. So we have great resources at our Career Academy, the Technical College, Coastal Pines Technical College, and the College of Coastal Georgia. But we're doing our best to make that seamless so that someone can get those technical skills early on in high school. And if they feel like welding or machining or that kind of environment is something they want to pursue, we can certainly get them a job doing that, and very lucrative jobs at this time. If you have a good mechanic nowadays, that's a 6-figure job. It doesn't matter how
Sure.
old you are.
Mm-hmm.
So people are just scrambling to try to find that technical individual. So for those that want to continue that education or that career path, they can. And for those that want to go on and have a 4-year degree, get a 4-year degree, they can do that right here or do it elsewhere. But they can always fall back on those technical skills because they'll be needed for forever in the future.
When you run into people in your business and operations, what is your pitch to attract people to this area that may be considering relocating their business or starting their business for the first time? What's your hook there to kind of get that deal sold, if you will?
Yeah,
what do you believe in, right? When you talk about the Golden Isles, what are the great things here as to why people would want to invest?
I think a lot of it is, the college, I think, says it best, that college is better by the beach, and that's the pitch that we have to. If you're going to build
Amen to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to build an industrial factory somewhere, why not put it somewhere people want to live? We attract 3 million people plus per year that come in and explore our Golden Isles and come here because it's a destination and it's a great place to visit. Why not turn that into a residency? Why not stay here? So I think from a workforce perspective, we've got a pretty good pitch. And then logistically, you won't find a better place on the East Coast. We're 2 days trucking from 80% of the United States market. We're 2-hour flight away from Hartsfield Jackson from 80% of the American market. We're equidistant from the port and the airport in Savannah, the port in Jacksonville. We have ports here. We have a commercial airport. It's just so easy to move product and people from this area that it's a really compelling case.
And you mentioned with Jacksonville only being, say, 45 minutes south of here, you do draw. There's a lot of people that drive back and forth, so the draw to live here and travel is pretty high.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, we pick up a tremendous population from North Jacksonville. And as Savannah and Jacksonville build out and become more congested, and especially with what's happening in Savannah with the Hyundai Meta plant, they're hiring 8,500 people, and then their suppliers will hire another 8,000 people. So it's 16,000 people, workers, that they need in Savannah just to support that one plant. And once you talk about families coming in, that's probably 25,000 new people that will be coming to Savannah just to support the creation of that plant. So as it becomes more congested and busy, getting from Richmond Hill to Northwest Savannah will become more challenging. And some of those folks might just rather jump on I-95 and 40 miles and 40 minutes away be at work. So I think that's just going to happen more frequently from Savannah as well as Jacksonville.
What goes in with the beaches being such a big draw? What goes into beach preservation here, knowing that beach erosion with the storms and being coastal is also on the rise? What do you guys do to make sure you keep your beaches beautiful?
Well, so it's getting a little bit out of my depth, but I know there are a
Okay.
lot of good people at the county that manage and Jekyll Island that manage the beaches and work with DNR and the appropriate agencies to make sure that our beaches are replenished when necessary, and that when storms happen that we're able to replace and replenish the sand and make sure that we'll have that asset here for years to come.
Yeah, I do. I know it's a big investment
Sure.
for these coastal communities. And then can you highlight some of the great marquee things around the region as to why people do visit? You named Jekyll Island. It's spectacular. It really is a beautiful place to go and visit. But what are some of the local draws that bring people to the Golden Isles?
Well, so I think it's just a very ecologically significant location in the world, really. So a third of the East Coast marshes are right here in Georgia, and we only have 100 miles of coast. And we've got
Undeveloped coast, correct?
in total.
Is okay.
So 100 miles. There's 100 miles of 95. So from if you were to measure as the crow flies north to south, 100
Okay,
miles.
there you
not,
go.
not as the land goes, because it'd be much more. But yeah, so we have these barrier islands that are very unique. So you have Little St. Simon's that is accessible only by boat, and a very unique experience. You have St. Simon's, which is obviously more commercial, but still retains that coastal feel. Sea Island is a name that people recognize all around the world. And then Jekyll is really a tremendous asset for the state of Georgia, for the Southeast in general, and they do a wonderful job. So, when you talk about things that people are coming to see, I think what's interesting about the Golden Isles is that it attracts people of all socioeconomic status. So when we're talking to companies, obviously, sales pitch for the CEO might be Sea Island, but then for the workforce, you have St. Simon's, and downtown Brunswick has become a destination in and of itself as well. So we really have something to offer for everyone.
What type of investments going into the downtown kind of historic district of Brunswick that's going to continue to make it attractive for many years to come?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first came to town 5 years ago, there were 6 or 7 buildings of 20,000 square foot or more that were sitting vacant.
Mm-hmm.
And it had really been a long time since reinvestment had happened in downtown Brunswick. And I think one of the things that kicked it off was the brewery. Silver Bluff Brewing came in. Obviously, that's a boon for your downtown, and it changed things in a big way. And investment started following on, and you had people coming in investing in apartments most recently, but also just office space. And folks like the Kaufman Group have carved out a niche in offering affordable office space with shared services, which is very attractive to someone who might live on the island and need to get out of a third bedroom or whatever the case may be. So those investments have continued to occur, and you watch the progression as the price point has gone up, and now we have loft investment in downtown. Quite a few. We participated in a study going back 2 or 3 years ago that said we could support 50 apartment loft units per year for 5 years in the downtown area. And there was no specific plan to accomplish that, but just by doing that study and proving the concept, it's happened. So if you look over the last 3 years, there's been quite a bit. 200 plus units have come into downtown of loft apartments, and that continues to grow. Now we have a hotel, which is a tremendous asset in downtown. So I think you're just going to see that progression, and it's playing out, and Brunswick's still a great place to invest.
Anything next that we haven't covered today? Anything coming up that would attract even current residences and current businesses that you could say, no, we've got this covered? Brunswick is on the uptick. All of the Golden Isles region is. I know for us, say post-pandemic, you couldn't really do online schooling efficiently. Mm-hmm. There wasn't this telehealth, say, component. So the interest for us to invest in the region was that we can bring this kind of superior internet solution so that we can be a part of this growth and sustain it. What other things like that do you have going on for the future of Glenn County?
No, and I think y'all's investment has been certainly welcome and needed. High-speed internet was an existing issue in the community, and it was prevalent, and it was ubiquitous. Everybody, it didn't matter if you lived on the island or downtown or somewhere west in the mainland. Everybody wanted better internet, so it's great to have Live Oak in the community and another option, and certainly some competition and a better option. So we appreciate y'all's investment, and that's going to pay dividends long term. Some other things that are happening, just again going back to some of the investments, and maybe similar to what happens with you guys, you don't necessarily, unless it's in front of your house, you don't see the fiber optic lines going in. More horizontal work. We're seeing a lot of the engineering and horizontal work at our industrial parks, and making those investments and investing in properties and teeing those up so that they're ready to develop will go a long way and pay dividends in the future. And a lot of that is it's time consuming. Again, working with Buc-ee's, as you've known, that's been ongoing for a year or more now, and a lot of that is again just preliminary engineering and permitting. It takes a while. It becomes flashy when you go vertical, but you've got to lay that groundwork, and that's kind of where we are now. So maybe similar to fiber, you don't really pay attention to when the lines go in, but when you turn your computer on and you have much faster internet, that's the time when it becomes real. Sure. So, some of that investment has been happening, and I think we're at the point now that we are able to start going vertical on some of this stuff, and it becomes much more obvious in the community.
Not to beat on Buc-ee's, but you're right. Within, I think, 2 years of the one opening, I'm down near St. Augustine, we had a Costco. Yeah. Within that time frame, come into that region, which was a big deal. It really was.
Yeah. Let me make that clear. We do not have a Costco.
No, you do not. You do not. But those interchanges do build out. It does attract some bigger names. It does kind of bring things current all the way around it.
Absolutely.
With sought after brands and things for that. So.
And that interchange will look much different in the future, and certainly we welcome a Costco
I was going to say, anybody's looking. I know, I'm not meaning to tease. So.
No. That interchange will look much different, and hopefully we're working with a group right now that will go vertical on the other side of the interstate and may actually beat Buc-ee's to the punch. But when that goes vertical, it'll be a very large building as well. And so I think that'll kick off the development. But that from exit 36 to 42 is going to look much, much different in the next 5 years.
Anything else you want to add today?
No, just appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for letting me have a chat with you.
Oh, no, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. To learn more about Live Oak Fiber, visit liveoakfiber.com and feel the flow.